Greetings. Welcome to our gentle basic yoga practice. And I've added the word basic to these classes as I want to start to incorporate some of the foundation, the basic poses of yoga, and over time we can add them, put them together. Last class was an exploration into a warrior pose. And today, I'd like to take us through a lunge. This is really a tricky one for me. Anjaneyasana in Sanskrit. So a lunge might bring up some trepidation for you, as perhaps it's not quite clear to you how the body will move. And particularly for those with low back issues, it'll be important for us to focus on a little bit of support from the front body. But I'm going to give us lots of ways to approach a lunge, and lunges are really good for the body. In a sense, like a runner's lunge is going to be creating length and stretch to the hamstrings in the back leg and in the hip flexors. And it's also a great way to balance ourselves in the pelvis and the entire body. So let's warm up for Anjaneyasana, a low lunge. And I'm going to show you how, if using blocks for your lunges is just not quite enough for you at this point in your yoga practice, then you can use the seat of a chair. And I'll show you how to use that when we get up there. So let's get started with warming up the body by laying down on our backs. So today you'll need 2 blocks and a blanket. And if you wanted to try the chair, you could grab some kind of a folding chair or a dining room chair and bring it close to your mat. So go ahead and lay down. Bend your knees. Plant your feet. Constructive rest pose. We know this one. This allows your low back to release a little. And we can scan the body at this place. Notice the feet, the low back, the broad shoulders, the back of your skull. And let's connect to the breath just for a moment. The inhale and the exhale. And just a couple more. This connecting to the breath brings us back into the present moment and back into the body and begins to quiet the busy mind. Draw your right knee up towards your chest. Hug it in. And reach up through your right heel. Flex your right foot. So this is the beginning of maybe creating length in the back of the hamstrings, in the back of your leg as we come in to a lunge. This will be important. And we can bend the knee a little bit to reduce that pull, or we can bend it quite a bit. And flex your foot, curl your toes back. So even this is preparing the foot and the ankle for the extended back leg of our lunge. And exhale, bend your knee, bring it in a little closer to your chest. And inhale, push your knee away and reach up through your heel. Let's move in that way with our breath. So exhale, bend your knee and bring it in a bit closer towards you. Move it back away, arms long. Inhale, reach up through your heel. Flex your foot. Last one. Exhale, bend your knee. Draw it in a little bit closer. And inhale away and reach up through your heel. Bend your knee again. And you can hold on behind your thigh just like you are, or on top of your shin. You could use a strap if your arms don't quite reach there. And then slide your left leg long. Flex your left foot, lift your left knee. So in this position, we're creating some of the dynamics of a lunge pose. The back leg would be extended, the front knee would be bent, but we have the floor on our spine to hold us and to explore the sensation. So right knee in, left knee lifted. Relax your shoulders down and take just a few moments. Nice deep breath. To go a little bit deeper in Apanasana pose, take your left hand out to the floor, palm down, a little lower than your shoulder. Open your right knee a bit towards your right shoulder. Drop your right elbow. Keep your left leg long, your left knee lifted, shoulders down. Come back to center with your right knee and reach back up one more time with your right heel. Flex your foot. And let's point and flex the foot again, just to warm up the ankle a little bit more. Point and flex. And bend your knee back in towards your chest. Bend your left knee, bring your left foot to the floor. Bring your right foot back to the mat. Just pause for a moment. Draw your left knee up. And if it's okay, can you reach behind your thigh? And again, if that's not really available to you today, then just fold a strap in half. And you could hold on like this, if that's better for you today. So flex your foot, curl your toes in a little towards you, press your thigh into your hands, drop those shoulders down, bend your left knee a little bit. And when you exhale, again, let's bend the knee in towards your chest and move your knee away from you as you inhale and reach up through your heel. Exhale, bend your knee and draw it in just a little closer, but keep your left hip down. Inhale, push your knee away and reach up through the heel. Let's do that one more time. Exhale, bend the knee. Bring it in a little closer. And then inhale away. Relax your shoulders. Let's circle the left toes. And then when you're ready from here, you could walk your right leg long, flex your right foot. Now note if by extending your right leg, this pulls your pelvis forward. Lift your right knee a little bit, drop your belly towards your back, bring your left knee in, anjaneyasana pose. Relax your shoulders, neck is neutral. Stay for a moment. And slip your right hand from behind your thigh, take it out to the floor. Open your left knee a little bit towards the side. Drop your shoulders. Keep your right leg working with a little inner rotation of your right thigh. Flex your right foot. Bring the left knee back up. Hug it in. Anjaneyasana pose. Glide your right heel towards you. Plant your right foot. Reach up with your left heel again. And let's do a little point and flex with the foot. Bend your left knee. Bring it back in towards your chest. And plant your left foot. Constructive breast pose. Draw both knees towards the left. Keep your shoulders down. Draw your belly in. Knees up. And then drop them towards the right. Use your core, pull it in a little bit. Exhale, knees up. And let's do that a couple more times. So inhale to the left, head to the right. Exhale up to center. And towards the right. And exhale to center. Now let's just pause here for a moment. So one of the things that we know about a lunge pose, it gets deep into the psoas muscle, but also into the hamstring. So we just did a little bit of a hamstring stretch, which was lovely. And I want to do basically the same movement, but get a little bit more into the psoas muscle. So this is where you'll need your blanket. And if you don't have a blanket, a block will work. And I'm actually going to use the block today. And for those that don't want to use the block, get a tightly rolled up blanket. So laying on your back, lift your hips and slide the block side to side beneath your sacrum, your low back. This is a supported bridge pose. So again, you don't have to come up quite this high. You can also take that rolled blanket or maybe like a beach towel would work just fine. Now when we extend the left leg, This is getting that sort of arc across the hip flexor, which is getting a little bit deeper into the psoas muscle, which is sort of replicating what might be happening in our body when we do a deep low lunge. Don't have to go deep though. And so as from here, press out through your foot. And if you like, bring your right knee back up. I like to just hold on to the back of the right thigh and press out through the left foot. Keep your sacrum on the block. So again, much like a runner's lunge, but with a deeper bend or arc to the hip. So just see if that works for you. Wiggle your shoulder blades apart. And just for a little added toning to the psoas, let's lift the left heel, bend your left knee a little, press your belly towards your back so your heel's just hovering. Press. One more breath, you got it. And release your left heel and release your right foot. Bend your left knee, bring your left foot down, and just pause. So again, even in the warm-up, even in the stretches getting into the lunge, we have options of what to pick and choose and what works best for us today. So from this doorway, we'll extend the right leg and center the right heel. And already, this is magnifying that stretch for the hip flexors for the psoas. But drop your belly in. Stay right here with this. If you want to just explore a little bit more, then bring your left knee up. I like to go behind the knee crease. Relax the shoulders. Stay right here. Again, like a lunge inside out and upside down. Stay with it. You can just use your left hand if you like and keep your right hand out to the side. But try to keep your shoulders and shoulder blades down. And then flex your right foot and just lift that right heel ever so slightly. Drop your belly in towards the block. Draw that left knee just a bit and breathe. Bend your right knee and bring your right foot to the floor. Release your hand so your left knee is still floating up. Hold on to the block. Lift your right foot, scooch a little on your block, hold on, or your blanket, or your bolster. Get your knees right over your hip sockets and float up through your feet. Point your toes and do some circles. This is sometimes called waterfall pose, which is a lovely thing to do for the body for many reasons. But today we're talking about it because it's setting the head of the femur bone down deep into the hip socket and it's just allowing the legs a little bit of a rest after that deep stretch. Circle your toes, both directions, and bend one knee at a time. Bring one foot at a time to the floor. Push down with your feet, scoop your hips up into a little bit of a bridge, and then slide your block or blanket away. Draw your tailbone towards your heels and hug your knees in. Inhale your knees away, arms are long, and then exhale your knees towards your chest. So again, inhale away and exhale in. Bring one foot at a time to the floor. Take pause. Roll to your side and create a table pose, hands and knees. So this is where a blanket comes in very handy because now you can unroll it and use it as a cushion for your knees if you like. Move your strap away, if you were even using it. And as we approach our low lunge pose, there is a little bit of a back bend to it. Just so we want to create some suppleness now through the entire spine as we move through cat-cow. So come into your table. Knees are hip distance apart, fingers wide spread. And as you inhale, round up into a cat. And let's just hold on to this pose for a moment. As you press through all of your fingers, look at your thumbs. Perhaps they can point a bit towards one another. The middle finger pointing straight ahead and your little fingers pointing out towards the edge. Press into the L of your hand, the index finger and the thumb. And then exhale, let your heart release and pull your chest forward. Lift your belly. So here again, we have a reminder that when we do come into the lunge, we don't want to just hang here like a hammock. We want a little lift. And then inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. Stay with this, but stay with your breath. So when you start the inhale round, and when you start your exhale, release your chest, pull it forward, lift your belly. Inhale, cat back, and exhale, cow spine. Come back to your table and extend your right leg behind you and tuck your toes under. Look at your foot. It's okay. The toes are pointing straight ahead. There's a little space between your feet, side to side. And from here, this is a nice beginning to stretch up the calf muscle and a little bit more of the foot. So reach back through your heel. Bend your right knee a little, square up your hips as best you can, press through all of your knuckles. Take a moment. Push with your toes, bring your shoulders back over your wrist, and bring your right knee down. Sink back into your hips for a moment. Lift the palms, come onto your fingers, just for a nice little bit of a break to your wrist. We're sitting kind of upright in our child's pose. And then pull yourself forward. Let's do the other leg. So spread your fingers. Take your left leg back. Look at your toes, pointing straight ahead. Draw your belly up. And just check in with your hips that one isn't lower than the other. So try to find that sense of symmetry there. Bend your left knee a little as you pull back through your heel. And take a couple breaths. And when you're ready, push with your toes, come back, bend your left knee. This time, walk your knees a little wider perhaps, and sink your hips back to their comfort level as you come into child's pose. Stack your fist, rest your forehead. Take a moment. We'll come back to this a little bit later. But I do want us, again, to extend the arms and come forward into our table and make our way down onto the belly into a Sphinx pose. So again, our lunging will create an opportunity for us to find a little bit of a back bend, but in a supported way. So as you press through the top of your feet and press through the very top of your upper thighs, lift your belly. Relax your shoulders, pull your heart forward. Tuck the chin a little bit. Take a moment and enjoy Sphinx pose. Energetically pull your elbows a bit towards your ribs as your heart reaches. Lift your belly again if you lost that. Stay with it. And exhale, lower, come down. Stack your hands, rest your head for a moment. Take a deep breath. Slide your hands beneath your shoulders. Bring your elbows in. Draw your chin towards your throat. We'll come up through a three-part cobra, Bhujangasana. As you inhale, push down with your hands. Curl up a little bit. Just a bit. Bring your elbows in. Exhale, lower, let your forehead touch. So again, just a little bit higher. Push down with all of your knuckles, all of your fingers. Curl up. And exhale, return. This one will bring us up again. So inhale, push down, keep pushing, come up onto your knees and rock your hips back. Take a moment. Nice, easy breath. Come to stand on your knees and roll your shoulders down your back. Before we get into a deeper low lunge, I wanted us to start with a lunge where when we stand on our knees, the back knee is directly out of the hip, not way back there. So this tells us that lunges come in many shapes and forms, and they're all very beneficial. But from this position, go ahead and set it up, and then kind of lean forward and look at your back knee. Could you possibly take a block and slide it between the inner foot, and would it fit? So you might need to open that knee a little. And if you don't have a block, just visualize that. And as you come up, we need to press through the back foot. You can be on a blanket here beneath your knee if you like. And press through your top foot, all four corners. Bring your hands to your hips, kind of square them up side to side. But then lift your belly. So draw the pubic bone a bit up towards your navel, press through both feet. This is the beginning. This is the journey into a low lunge. Now, if you're feeling a lot of pressure on your knee, again, pressing into the back foot is very helpful. Stack your hands on your thigh. Again, draw your inner thighs towards one another a bit. Use your core support. Lift the pubic bone. Stay upright and very regal. Lean forward by tipping your pelvis. Find your blocks or the floor, and then we'll switch that out. Stand on your knees again, and come forward. If it's wobbly, it's okay. But take a moment to notice the placement of your feet, and your back knee, and your back foot. And after a while, it just becomes second nature. You don't have to always check out everything. You'll know how it feels in your body. So as you push down through your front foot and your back foot, start to rise up. Bring your hands to your hips. Kind of roll this thigh under. I guess that would be your right thigh. Press your feet, your back foot and your front foot. Lift your belly. Stack your hands. Relax your shoulders. Take just a moment. Scan your body from the feet all the way up through the crown of your head. There's a sense of grounding down into the foundation of the pose, but also finding length through the spine and floating up through the crown of your head. One more breath. Hinge forward. Find your blocks or the floor. And slide your front foot to your back foot. Sink back into your child's pose. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. I'm just sitting up so I can still talk to you. What I've discovered is if I'm in child's pose and I'm talking, it's just a mumble jumble. So stay in your child's pose for a moment. My idea was to get us up to standing through downward facing dog, but perhaps that's not a pose that's available to you today. So if you decided you wanted your chair, you could do this instead. You could stand on your knees and bring one foot forward like this lunge we just did, and then the toes tuck under, lift up, step up, voila. So those that want to do that variation, go ahead. We'll meet you in a standing mountain pose. For the down doggers, I love saying that. Spread your fingers again, create that shape of your hands. Walk them in front of your shoulders, tuck your toes under, lift your hips up, press back. Now bend your knees and scoop your tail up, press into all of your knuckles, Lift your belly, roll your shoulders away from your ears, push off the floor continuously. It doesn't matter at all if your heels come to the floor. Keep a little bend to your knees. Begin to walk your feet towards your hands or your hands towards your feet. Bend your knees, sink a little deeper, and crisscross your wrists, come up, so we can join those who came to stand in another way. Hook your thumbs, perhaps bend your elbows, bend your knees, front ribs down, and do just a little side bend, side to side. Nice, easy stretch. Come into stillness, into center, and bring your hands home to your heart. Roll your shoulders down your back. Two of the things that we'll explore once we get into the lunge is the placement of the hands. So we'll have the hands on the thigh, a little bit deeper in our lunge, hands on the hips to square them up, and then it's sometimes nice to take the hands behind and clasp them and draw the tailbone down a little as we lift the heart. So this is a nice variation. And we can also, we can have lots of fun with this, clasp the hands behind the skull, press the head back, front ribs in. So let's try all those different arm movements just to open up through the chest before we get to the lunge. So take your hands behind you and clasp. If you can't quite reach, again, here's where the strap comes in handy. You can take your doubled up strap and hold on to it like this. Okay, either way, let's do this. So shoulders up, back, and down. Bend your knees a little. Again, just a little length of your tailbone. Lift your heart. Take your hands back and squeeze your shoulder blades. So one of the things we need to be careful of here is that we don't do the head forward movement. We pull the skull back, bend the knees, lift the hands, and take a few deep breaths. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. And at any given moment, you want to release your hands or drop the strap, go ahead. And let your arms float up like feathers. Turn your palms to face. And exhale, bring your hands home to your heart. Roll your shoulders. Take a pause. And bring your hands forward in mountain pose. Bend your knees. Now take your feet a little wider and clasp your hands behind your skull. Open your elbows, press your skull back, bend, bring your ribs down. And lift your right heel and reach up with your left elbow. Press your skull back, open your elbows wide. Bring your heel down. Press your skull back again. And now lift your left heel and reach up with your right elbow. Bring your ribs in, skull back. And come back down. Stretch your palms up. Exhale, come forward and down. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Walk or hop your feet in. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Palms forward. Knees a little bit bent. Take a breath on your mountaintop. Tadasana, mountain pose. From the side, come into your chair, Utkatasana. Sit back. Tip forward. Find the floor. Bring your knees down. Walk your knees a little wider. Sink your hips back again into a child's pose. And please make it your own. Stack your fists for your forehead. Stack your palms. Stay a little more upright. Whatever works in your body. So come into your child's pose once more. Drop into stillness. And from this place, come back up onto your knees. So again, yogi's choice, downward facing dog to return to standing. or you can use your chair, or just step up, back toes tuck, lift your knee, step forward. So we'll all meet up again once more in our forward fold, Uttanasana. Drop a little more into your heels, crisscross your wrists, palms up, push down, and rise up, rise and shine. Exhale home to your heart. Take a pause. Bring your hands to your hips. Again, a chair or a wall is handy for balance. So some of the same shape or design that we're creating in our lunge, we already did it laying down. We did it on our hands and knees when we extended one leg behind us and the other knee was on the floor. And from standing, it's kind of fun to bring your right knee up like a lunge. Try not to lean back. So from the side, this is the tendency. I'm exaggerating, but not that much. Try to stand upright. Draw your belly in, fingers out to the side. Flex your foot. Stay for a breath or two. And toe touch. And step back to your mountain pose. So let's try that again. This is an indication of the strength and the tone of your psoas. If it's impossible to hold your leg, this is nice to do some sit-ups like this for your psoas. But let's do this from the other side again. Come to a wall if you like. Lift up your left knee, drop your hip, pull your belly in, stay upright. Unlock your standing knee. Bring your fingers out to the side. Flex your foot. Drop your left hip a little if it's hiking up higher. A lot of little things to consider. And when you're ready, bring your foot back to the floor and shift a little side to side. So sometimes that balance pose is called a stork pose. And if you wanted to continue exploring that as your balance pose, then you can also bring your arms up alongside your head. And release. Might as well do it on the other side too, yeah? So lift up your heel, engage your core. Draw the bandhas into play. Pubic bone up, ribs down, skull back. Lift the knee. I like to do this two-step. First, lift the knee, and then bring the arms. But you might do it all in one. And if your stork wants to fly, they can fly. It's okay. You can do it against the wall like this. Then once you find your balance, you can pull your fingers away from the wall. And release. And then toe touch and do a little step back and forth. So let's start a deeper journey into our lunge. First, I want to show, and if you don't have a chair, it's okay because I'm not going to linger there. I just want to show. So the chair, think of them like high blocks. That's all you have to think. So when you approach the chair, sit back, tip forward, find the front corners, bring, like, say your right knee right up against, your foot will be under the chair, and take your left leg back, look at your toes, set it up, and then get lighter. So this is a lovely way to begin to explore lunge. Square up your hips, lift your belly, bend your back knee. Stay upright. You can even use this as a balance. Now with the knee against the chair edge, this gives you a little bit of support. Tip forward, find the floor, lengthen your front leg, slide it back, and come to stand. Roll your shoulders. So again, if you're going to use the chair for our lunge exploration, please do. Otherwise, we're going to use our blocks. I'll put the chair here so we can keep us all on the same foot. Stack your blocks on either side of your feet. Get your feet a little bit apart. Roll your shoulders down. Stand in your mountain pose. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, sit back in chair. Draw your belly in. Little deeper. And then tip over, find your blocks, use your palms, your fingers, or your fist, and let's step back with the right leg. Now, before we do anything else, again, look at the feet. That your front foot is a little bit open right out of your hip, and so is your back leg. So that means that blocks distance between. Look at your back toes, rotate your thighs so your toes are straight ahead. Bend your knee a little bit. Scoop your left hip under. And let's just start right here. This is the high lunge version. Press evenly through your feet. And if you would like, you can pull your blanket beneath your right knee as you lower it down. Come on to the top of your foot if that's available. So from where we started with this knee right out of the hip. And if you wanted to go back to that, please do. But now the knee's back a little bit. We've done some warm-ups to get here. You're on your blocks. Sit up a little higher. Press through both feet. Bring your hands up to your hips. Lift your belly. Sit up a little more upright. Square your hips. Press through both feet. Take some strength of the legs. It's your foundation. It takes some length of your spine. Stack your hands. Get nice and regal. Stay with it. You got it. Keep drawing the tailbone down a little bit as you lift your heart. Press through both feet. Front foot, back foot. And then lean forward. Find your blocks once more. Tuck your back toes under. Lift your back knee. Lengthen both of your legs. You can be on your fist here, perfectly fine. And let's do a little bit of a seesaw, sort of a flow. So exhale, bend your front knee. And inhale, lengthen, lift your hips. Be careful that you don't lock either one of your knees. Exhale the lunge. Inhale, lift your hips. Lengthen your legs. One more. Exhale, bend the front knee. Inhale, lengthen your legs. Exhale, bend your front knee. And step forward. Forward fold. Push down through your feet and rise up. Exhale home. Take a moment to notice, perhaps that built a little heat in your body, that focus of your lunge. Take a moment, catch your breath, sink into the earth. And so move that way on the other side, yes? So we know this, we have to do both sides. So I brought forward many options. Again, the chair is a delightful way to explore lunge in a way that feels a little more available. And sometimes I just do it because there's a chair handy when I walk by. So, okay, now I'm going to switch over to this side. I'm still going to do it on the side, but I want to do the other leg. So if you're using the chair as your blocks, go ahead. There's many ways to get here. This is just the way that I've found that works best in my body, and for people who are a little bit, let's say, they want to protect their low back a little bit. They're curious and conscientious about it. So let's float the arms up. Relax your shoulders. Sink back into your hips. Get your feet hip distance apart. Sink. Pull your belly in. Exhale, tip your pelvis, find your blocks. Now we'll take the left leg back and look at your toes again. So I'm going to move this front block so you can see the front knee comes right over your heel. And there's a little bit of asymmetry that happens for many of us when we get into a lunge. So we have this opportunity to pull the right hip back, to draw the left hip a little forward, to draw the inner thighs together to lift the belly. And if you want to play a little bit more with your balance today, bend your back knee a little first. Stack your hands in the high lunge version. Square up your shoulders. Keep that bend to your back knee. Very regal. And then fold forward. Again, find the blocks to the floor. And bring your back knee down. And here's where you would slide a little cushion beneath your knee if you want. Come on to the top of your foot. So you'll notice that in this version of the low lunge, my knee is back from my hip. So you could bring your knee back forward, perfectly fine and wonderful. Sit upright on your blocks. And here's where we don't want to collapse. We want to bring the belly in to support. It is a little bit of a back bend, but we're not hanging off of it. So remember, way back in the middle of our class, clasp your hands. Bring your thumbs towards your sternum, and then you can lift your hands if you want. Release your hands, come forward, low lunge. Stay with it for a moment. There's a lot going on here, I know. So let's lift the front toes and pull back with the hips to release some of that holding. Square your hips up. Bend your front knee, dig in with your heel. Pull your heart a little forward. This is called half Hanuman asana. Sort of the first baby step into doing splits. And then exhale, bend your knee. And slide your blocks with you. Lift your front foot, pull your hips straight back, not to the side. Slide your blocks a little towards you if you like. Dig in. Bend your front knee a little bit. Notice your hamstrings. They're saying hello. Square up your hips. Bend your front knee. Bring your foot to the floor. Let's do one more on this side, and then we'll do the same thing on the other. So lift up your toes. Pull your hips straight back. Square up your hips, bend your knee, pull your heart a little forward. Make sure you're not locking this right knee. And then come back to the low lunge. High blocks, back toes tuck. Lift your back knee, lengthen both legs, square up your hips. And then as you bend your front knee, do 1, 2, or 3 hops. Come up, forward fold. Stay here, and we'll step back now with the right leg. Walk your feet a little apart. Stay here. Square up your hips. And again, you can get lighter on your blocks right here. Draw your belly in. Or you can stay upright in a little more of a balance pose. Bend your back knee. Remember, this is gentle, basic, so be kind to yourself. And then fold forward, find your blocks. Bring your knee down this time and slide the blanket beneath your knee if you want to. Come on to the top of your foot. Lovely. So again, we have some variations of what we do with the arms. Many people want to stay right here or stack. Draw your belly in. Hands at the heart. Hands overhead. Clasp behind the head. And come forward. Find your blocks. I usually take mine to the lower level at this point and lift up your front toes and pull your hips back. Square up your hips. Bend your front knee. Pull your heart a little forward. Exhale back to the low lunge. Square up your hips again. Let's do 2 more like that. So lift your toes. Pull your hips straight back. Kind of dig in with your heel and pull it a little bit towards you without it actually moving, but keep a bend to this knee. Exhale the lunge. And we got our last one. So lift your toes. Pull your hips straight back. They might want to go to the right or the left, so try to square up, dig in. And exhale back to your low lunge. Excellent. So tuck your back toes under. Lift your back knee. Lengthen both of your legs so your blocks can be at the high level at this point. Pull your heart a little forward. Stay with this. Little seesaw. Bend your front knee. Step up. Drag your foot. Pop your blocks. All those good things. Drop your tailbone. Crisscross your wrists. Palms up. Push down with your feet. And rise up. Little bit of crescent side to side. And come back into center. Roll your shoulders down your back. Bend your knees a little. So in those lunges, we've asked quite a bit of the hands and the wrists, the feet and the ankles. So let's do a little bit for the wrists. So press your palms and then point your fingers down. That feels pretty good. Just do a little bling bling there. And then point your palms and point your fingers and your palms and then your fingers. And then shake it out a little bit. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Stand on your mountaintop, perhaps a little taller. There's a little more length now through the hip flexors and the hamstrings. And we'll make our way down to the yoga mat for a little bit of cool down and a bit more hip opening. So if you think about lunging, it's primarily a symmetrical forward and back movement where we're extending out through the hip flexors and through the hamstrings. So we'll come down and do a little hip opening to balance all that out. If you like using a block for your Uttanasana chair pose like I do, grab it, and you know you can still do it without. Roll your shoulders back and down. Bend your knees. Float your arms up just a little. They don't have to be very high. And then sit back in your chair. Pull your hips back. Now there's a little front body support in this pose. So draw your belly in and your ribs down a little. And reach your hips back. Tip forward. Find the floor. Bring one knee down at a time. And before we come onto the back, set yourself up one more time for a couple cat-cow. This brings symmetry back into the spine, the paraspinal muscles. So inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. Lift your belly. Again, inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. One more. Cat back on the inhale. On the exhale, draw your heart forward through the gate of your shoulders. Lift your belly. And come back to table. Switch over to a seated position. Have your blocks ready for this next part. And lower yourself down. Nice and gentle. Roll on down and hug your knees in. Rock them to and fro again a couple times. Next time your knees are away and your arms are long, circle your knees. It's actually more of an oval. They take the knees in a little oval rotation around the edge of your sacrum, your low back, and then go the opposite direction too. Circle right into what feels like center. Let's bring the right foot to the mat and the left heel up towards the ceiling. Flex your foot, rotate your thigh, bend your knee, bring your ankle bone across the top of your right thigh. Wrap your hands around your pelvis, your hips, hop your right heel in, kind of move your left thigh a little away from you, but don't push it. I mean, it can happen all on its own, but we want to make sure we keep dorsiflexion for the ankle. And once we arrive at this position, Let's do a little bit of a sway. So open your knees a bit towards the right and back to center and a little towards the left. And draw your belly in, come back up. And we'll do that a couple more times before we pause. Open your right knee. Exhale, come back up. On the inhale, take your right knee towards the left. Draw your right hip a little towards your heel. Exhale to center. And let's finish off one more time on this side. So open your right knee. Keep your left foot flexed. And when you get here, draw your left hip just a little towards your heel of your right foot. It's a subtle length. Pull your belly in, come up, and then sway just a little, minimize it. So your foot doesn't even really lift off the floor, just rolling from one side of your low back to the other. And then pause there, decide if you want to keep your right foot on the floor, or you want to lift it up onto a block, or bring your right knee up. Stack it right over your hip. Hold on to your left thigh and roll it just a little bit away from you. Press out through the ball of your left foot. Keep your right knee aligned with your shoulder. Wiggle your shoulders down. And just pause for a breath. And when you're ready, let's bring the right foot to the mat. Reach up with your left heel. Point your toes, draw some circles, both directions. Again, we're bringing some kindness into the ankles for all they did for us today. Bring your hands to your low belly and begin to lower your left leg. Look down your body at your toes. Maybe just go halfway. Press your belly down. So again, we're using the hip flexors here as we lower. Hover, and then bend your knee and bring your foot to the floor. So let's move along to the other side. So we'll reach up with the right heel, flex the foot, rotate the thigh, bend your knee, bring your ankle bone across the top of your left thigh. Align your left heel with your left hip. Press out through the ball of the right foot, curl your toes in. Wrap your hands around your hips, wiggle your shoulders. Move your right thigh, it's just like a fraction of an inch to move away. And the head of your hip, your femur is sinking a little heavier into your hip socket in that way. But we want to be careful about the knee. So once we get here, we'll open the left knee towards the left. Go slow. And just go, think 80%. I'm not going to go all the way. I'm just going right here. Exhale, pull your belly in, come up. Roll across your low back. Now take your left knee towards the right. Exhale, belly to center. Belly draws into center. And again, open your left knee to the left. You can move that right hip down and away from your armpit. Exhale to center. And bring your left knee now over towards the right. Roll to the inside edge of your right foot. Draw your left hip a little towards your knee. Exhale, center. We'll do one more on this side. So open the left knee towards the left. Find your way. Keep your shoulders and shoulder blades down. Exhale, belly in, knees up. And then take your left knee towards the right. Roll to the inside edge of your left foot. Draw your left hip away from your armpit, but keep your shoulders down. Draw your belly in, come back up. Kind of square up your hips, align your foot, all those good things. And then decide if you want to just do a little sway, maybe, and stay right here. Or you'd like to also go a little deeper with your foot on the block. or your knee up right over your hip. Relax your shoulders. Find that just right place for you. It's different for everybody, and it's different day to day in each one of us. And when you're ready from here, take your left foot to the floor. Reach up with your right heel. And again, point your toes and do some loving kindness movements for your ankle. You can do a circle or point and flex. You can also do your initials, like there's M, there's O. And then with your hands on your belly, keep your pelvis stable on the mat and begin to lower your leg. Look down your body at your toes. Keep them aligned with your hip. Go only just as far as is available. If you can go and just hover for a moment, go ahead. And then bend the knee, bring the heel down, and slide towards you. Swish your knees a little to the right and left. Now walk your feet in, heel toe, knees touch, ankles touch. We'll end our asana practice today in Baddha Konasana, bound ankle pose. So open your knees, bring your feet together. Use your blocks, either low or medium, any way that gets your pelvis to release. So this is a position of the body that creates symmetry. So lunging and approaching anjaneyasana, it creates a little bit of asymmetry, which is good because it's a little bit of a stretch and a strengthening. But now we want to bring balance into the body. So let's arrive. Hands on your hip bones, elbows out, tuck your shoulders. Close your eyes and relax your jaw. And just surrender the weight of your body to that heavy pull of gravity. Come back home to your breath. Follow it in and out of your body. So I invite you to linger here longer, or after we sign off from one another, to come back to this pose and then maybe create a longer classic Shavasana position for yourself. Help your knees up and bring your feet to the floor. Roll to your side and come up to sit. If you'd like to try a variation of hero's pose, then stack either one or two of your blocks. So if you need a little bit more, then if you're a little bit taller, then you would sit upright like this. But for me, at this point, I only need one block. But it's enough that now I'm sitting on my sits bones and not my tailbone. Shoulders up, back, and down. Pause with your palms down. Reach your fingers out. Turn your palms up. Inhale. And exhale down to your heart. Bow your chin. And tip your pelvis. And in this way, we can bow to one another across time and space, and also still honor the life and light within. Namaste.